Cyberpower PC giveaway is currently running. Click on the link in the description for a chance to win some awesome gaming equipment. What's going on, Nasty Nation? It's Nasty, and today I will be letting you guys in on a little known secret regarding how to abuse climbing in the early parts of Season 8. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. The first thing worth noting is the fact that playing games at the start of the season can actually backfire on you. As many of you guys already know, the ranked ladder reset that happens at the start of each season creates a lot of chaos in the sense that a lot of players who were formerly in entirely different ranks will now be matched in the same exact games with each other on a regular basis. For example, someone who finished in High Challenger last season can easily be matched with somebody who finished Diamond last season. Someone who finished Diamond can easily be matched with somebody who finished Gold, and someone who finished Gold can easily be matched with somebody who finished Bronze. Essentially, at the start of the season, you'll be playing against a mixture of players that are both better than you and worse than you, and the winner of these games will often come down to a coin flip, meaning that more often than not, the teams with the higher ranked players on their team will win simply because they are better players, and the opposing team won't have much of a fighting chance. If you happen to end up on that opposing team, then your fate will probably end the same. It truly is unfortunate that the outcome of your games can often come down to something that is flat out of your control. Obviously, this isn't ideal, but that's just how the system works, so we have to then try to find a way to play around it. However, you can in fact completely avoid these mismatched games simply by not playing any ranked games, or at least playing less games for the first few months of the season. By avoiding ranked games, you can essentially spend time away from the ranked ladder while things get back to normal, back to the way that they should be. During this time, you can give everybody who is currently playing ranked more time to climb back or, in some cases, fall out of and into their deserved ranks. The high elo players will eventually return to high elo, and the low elo players will eventually return to low elo, and once things are settled, then you can begin your climb. The reason that this strategy works so well is because not only will you completely avoid all of the madness involved with the mismatched games during the early season, but you'll then have the opportunity to play against a bunch of lower ranked players than you, which should ultimately give you the opportunity to have the upper hand in your games, allowing you to then carry and climb much easier. I do think it's important to note though that if you do decide to go with this route and with this strategy, that you should still try at least to play some games of League in the meantime as a way to not only keep up to date with the meta, but also keep up to date with your mechanics and keep them fresh. You wouldn't want to completely restrain yourself from playing League because that would ultimately set you behind, so again, make sure that you at least continue to play League by either playing some normals or at least playing on a separate account during this time. Moving on though into another way to abuse climbing during the early season, I want to talk a little bit about burning out. Burnout is yet another one of those things that you want to try to avoid at all costs. Burnout is a term that can be applied to many aspects of life, but when related to League, it involves playing so much to the point that you feel like mentally and physically you can't play the game anymore. Maybe you felt burnout before, or maybe you haven't, but take it from somebody who played way too many games of League of Legends last year when I say it's the last thing you could possibly want. To avoid burning out, I'd recommend a few things. The first thing that I'd recommend is very straightforward, and that is don't play too much. As obvious as that may sound, you'd be surprised how many people, including myself, burn themselves out because they simply play too many games. It's important to remember that there is life outside of video games, so don't get caught up in a rank displayed on a screen, and instead remember to take time to appreciate and live your actual life. I'd also recommend that you pace yourself as best as you possibly can. By pacing yourself, I mean don't overdo the amount of games that you play at a given time. The amount of games that you can play in a day will differ from person to person, so figure out what works best for you, what your limit is, and don't play any more games than that. If you play 5 games in a day and you find yourself starting to slack off in your games, losing your focus, and overall just playing at a lower potential than what you're capable of, then that right there is your limit. If you're playing so many games to the point that you are no longer playing the way that you're capable of, then that's a clear sign that you should stop playing because you're burning yourself out. Another piece of advice that I'll offer regarding Burnout is to keep things interesting and have fun. Yes, I know that sounds super cheesy, but please hear me out real quick. League of Legends is just a video game after all, so as it goes for all video games, at the end of the day you should try your best to have fun. On top of that, if you're not having fun and enjoying the game, you'll get bored, you'll burn out, and you'll not make it through the season strongly. For example, even though playing strong meta champions is going to be the best option when it comes to climbing, even with that being said, don't be afraid to mix things up. Play some new champions, some off-meta champions, try some new builds, or play some normals with some friends in order to keep things interesting. The final aspect of Burnout that I want to mention is motivation. I've already mentioned that if you aren't having fun with the game, that it's very unlikely you'll want to continue playing. Well, the same mentality also goes along with a lack of motivation. If you aren't motivated to play the game, then why would you ever continue playing? In order to stay on track and stay motivated, I'd recommend that you set some goals for yourself. Ask yourself what exactly it is that you're trying to accomplish this season and chase that goal. Maybe you just want to look to improve your mechanics as a whole, or your game knowledge altogether. Or maybe you're looking to push yourself towards competitive play and reach Academy or LCS in the future. Or maybe you just have a target rank in mind that you're trying to reach. Whatever your goal may be though, identify it and go after it. If you start off your season without any goals in mind, it can be very easy to lack focus, so be sure to get some goals and give yourself a reason to take things seriously. Moving on into a rather small and underrated piece of advice, I'd like to discuss the process of dodging games. There really aren't many people aside from Pantsar Dragon and myself that I know of who properly dodge champion selects. I would assume the reason for that being is because people are more often than not willing to sacrifice 6 minutes of their time as well as 3 LP, but hear me out because it really can play out to your benefit. At the start of the season, your MMR, otherwise known as your matchmaking rating, will be unreasonably high for whatever reason, but this means that on average, you should start off the season earning a lot more LP in wins compared to the amount that you lose whenever you lose a game. And you want that to be the case for as long as you possibly can, thus dodging comes into play. When you dodge in Champion Select, yes, you will receive a 6-minute timeout from queuing up, as well as a loss of 3 LP, but your MMR will not be affected whatsoever. So anytime you're in a queue that is looking a little sketchy, has a bad team comp, has a lot of off-role players, or if you just have a bad feeling about it, don't be afraid to dodge. It's better to wait 6 minutes and only lose 3 LP, rather than to play a potentially 40-minute long game, only to lose 18 LP or whatever that number may be, and on top of that, have your MMR decreased. This is even more important to keep in mind during the early season because at this point, your MMR is going to be very high and you want to make sure that you're doing everything in your power to keep it there. My final piece of advice related to climbing during the early parts of Season 8 is to play every game like it's an LCS final. What I mean by that is that you want to head into each and every game intending to play high quality League of Legends as hard and as wise as you possibly can. Take every game very seriously, pay attention to every little movement on the minimap, take control of the shot calling role for your team, play the best of the best champions or champions that you feel comfortable on, buy the most powerful and optimal items, look up what rune pages work best with your champion, communicate with your teammates to form common goals, be positive and mute players who promote toxic behavior, and above all, just try your best. I understand that it's unreasonable to keep up this kind of mentality throughout the entire season, but I do believe that the games played in the early season are so important that you should at least try to keep up this mentality in the beginning. That is, however, going to compile the end of this video and this list regarding how to climb during the early parts of Season 8. I hope you guys were able to not only learn something new by watching this, but I hope that you guys are also able to take those things that you learned, apply them to your own games, and hopefully see some success, given these games are so very important. I'm sure there's plenty of other tips and tricks out there to abuse climbing in the early season though, so if you happen to know any, feel free to comment down below and let me know exactly what it is. Also, be sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, and subscribe if you're new here and are yet to do so. That'll do it for me though, so I will see you guys next time. Peace.